Good evening, everyone. We are back with this last session of MBA test exam. In fact, MAT is the last exam for 2026 batch, 2026-28 batch, and there will be no more scope or chance for anyone who is actually aspiring for MBA PGDM to do this year. That is 2026 batch to 28 batch. And fortunately, a lot of top B schools are still open. I mean, the windows for the applications are still open, and some of the top B schools we have already mentioned in that. But to just to repeat for the sake of repeating, those who are still stuck in waitlisted and are not very sure whether to go for this particular B school or that particular B school, and are not yet able to crack your dream B school, for them this is an option. Basically, this is a backup. If you appear for mat and if you are able to have a high enhance your score, that is get a better score, you might as well take a pick on this B schools, which we are going to show you. And before that, Dhruva sir, as usual, will take you through the process of the mat, the format of the mat. There are two formats basically. One is a hard copy, one is an online format. You can take both or you can take only one. More that Dhruva sir will be talking about. But before that, I would like to also thank the four knowledge partners which we have today. Amrita B School, which offers a 2 years MBA. IMDR Pune, which offers again 2 years of PGDM. MDI Gurgaon, this is only for their executive program, which is a PGDM BA, 18 months executive program for primarily for designed for working professionals. And of course, we have IIAM Vizag, which is again offers 2 year PGDM. So over to you, Dhruva. You can take us through this session.
Thank you, Nirmal. I think so. Again, just continuing from the disclaimer that we had even last time, that one thing that is very clear in my mind, that if today is 15th of May 2026, and if you have not got into a good college till now, or you have not got a confirmed offer from a college till now, then it is always better to do an MBA this year than to wait for next year without really any guarantee. Okay, so that is where MAT comes into the picture. MAT is the last exam for the season of admission 2026 and academic year 2026-28, academic session 26 to 28. uh, Interestingly enough, many people might not know that MAT is actually one of the oldest exams
Very true.
that is conducted in India. Uh, it has been almost 30 years now that MAT is being conducted by IMA, and a lot of business schools actually accept MAT score. In fact, just to give you an idea, that even Maharashtra colleges, some of the colleges actually accept MAT score to be converted to an equivalent of Maharashtra CET score for their admission in their MMS courses. So what I will do is I'm going to take you through this exam. What are the options available, and how do you uh, take this exam and crack this exam, and so on. I will share with you a PPT, and that is where we will start. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hope it is visible.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Perfect. Let me see whether I can activate my pen. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So yeah, so let's talk about the exam. Okay. We will talk about how. Now, one thing for sure, that MAT exam requires a good score, because there are a lot of schools, and therefore a 99 plus score will actually take you to a top business school in India. Uh, and the good news here is that scoring a 99 percentile in MAT is not as tough as scoring a 99 percentile maybe in CAT or SAT. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through this exam. Now, as I said, as also Nirmala was pointing out, that this exam can be taken in two formats. One is the PBT, which is the paper-based exam, that is going to happen on 31st of May 2026. the last date to apply is very very near. It is 25th of May 2026. And after your application, all in within 3 days of time, you get the admit card, and you get your test venue and etc. And on 31st of May 2026, the paper based test is going to happen. You will get another chance to do this paper for the June season, that is going to happen on 14th of June 2026. Again, the registration closes on 8th of June 2026. Admit card releases on 11th of June 2026. The good part about it is you can apply to just one of the formats, or you can apply to both the formats. I think it is total 4,000 rupees to apply for both the formats. And I generally suggest that why not? I mean, if you are already comfortable with an online exam, all your exams are online, and therefore computer based test anyway you can apply. And therefore the only thing that you need to keep in mind is that it is not really a problem to write a paper based test as well. So my first suggestion in this is that given a choice, I would have written both the formats of the paper, as and that basically gives me a good chance to write the paper twice. The you whichever one you take, you can take the first one. Yeah.
So, Dhruva sir, this is very. I mean, I find it very strange that the same exam you can sit for both online as well as the I mean pen and paper, but in this case, I'm sure the better score will be considered, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And what about,
Absolutely.
just for my curiosity, what about my roll number? Will it be different for both?
Yes, they are completely different structure, and yes, the roll numbers will be different. But since your email ID and phone number, which will be attached to you, will be same, your candidature will be taken into account, and you will be having a different paper.
So,
If you
Professor,
apply to both of them together, then your roll number will be same. So there is
okay,
an option to apply for the paper together. You can apply alag alag also, and you can apply together also. So you can apply one time. There is a option where you can click both the options. You can tick out both the options. Then you pay 4,000. Otherwise, I think it is slightly costly if you apply it one at a time.
okay. But in both the cases, I will be considered as a two different this thing, and my scores will be separately shown, and
Yes, and whichever is the better, you can just choose that one.
which is in a way very good for students. Like, in fact, maybe for apart from the students, like maybe for executive or the professionals who are doing a job, normal job, and they are on they do not have much time to study. This option is probably better for them also. It is very important for them also. For example, if somebody wants to go for MDI PGDM BM, then this option, I guess, is definitely better. Anyway, thank you so much for clarifying. It was just my curiosity.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So as rightly, I mean, a very good question asked. Yes, absolutely. The better of the two scores you can use to join or share whichever business school you want to apply. And my always, whenever somebody asks me whether I should write both the papers, my always answer is, why not? I mean, think it this way. If it was cat, you would have, if you are given a chance to write it twice, you would have written it twice. And somehow cat did not work this year. So therefore, if you have got a chance to write a paper twice, and you know that the better of the two scores will be used to apply, therefore why not? I mean, that's how you play with this exam. uh, both the exam structure wise are absolutely same, except for the fact that this is one is a paper based, the other one is a computer based. There is absolutely no difference in terms of structure, in terms of time management, in terms of uh, the content of the paper, and so on and so forth. Obviously the question paper will be different, but yeah, I mean, otherwise the paper structure, the paper strategy remains to be almost 100% same. I mean, except that you are comfortable with computer online, or you write it physically. That's the only difference. Yeah. uh, let's move forward. So therefore we will try to understand the exam and how does it work now. there are the first, if I want to stick on the first overview of the paper, uh, there are total 150 questions, and I'll talk about the structure of the paper also in terms of the sections. There are total 150 questions. You have got exactly 2 hours to answer these 150 questions, and more than 600 colleges are accepting this score. The marking scheme right now is +1 for a right answer and minus 0.25 for a wrong answer. Okay, so therefore, yes, here there is again negative marking. So remember, Maharashtra city did not have negative marking, and I had suggested that you should go all berserk and answer all questions, take guesses and wild guesses in the last 5 minutes and etc. But this is not going to work here. uh, you have to take care of accuracy so that you can maintain a good score, and therefore I will talk about the strategy as well. uh, Now this is the sectional distribution. The first one is linguistics or language, also mainly focusing on verbal English language testing. There will be 30 questions which will take care of reading comprehension, grammar, and vocabulary. So, no surprises here. No surprises. Whatever you have prepared in the season till now, that more or less remains absolutely same. Okay. In fact, maybe slightly on the easier side than on the tougher side. Quant, the same syllabus remains. There will be 30 questions covering arithmetic, algebra, and geometry. Uh, there is some questions on modern maths like permutation, combination, probability, some questions on statistics as well. But yeah, I mean, more or less same syllabus as you have done till now. Data interpretation, 30 questions on interpretation of data, graphs, charts. A new addition to it is data sufficiency. Data sufficiency does not come in CAT, or has not come in CAT for some 15, 20 years now. But data sufficiency has been there, and I'm sure you have prepared data sufficiency for NMAT, you have prepared data sufficiency for ZAT. So, again, not something which is new. Now, herein comes the basic difference between this paper uh, and other exams. Generally, in data interpretation, all the other exams except NMAT, obviously, as we had discussed, in data interpretation, logical reasoning is pushed into. So, therefore, generally in almost all other exams, data interpretation and logical reasoning are fused together. In this exam, there are 30 questions which are specifically reasoning. Okay, and while we will talk about it, but yes, there are questions on analytical reasoning, which will include questions like blood relations, direction sense, cutting of cubes, sitting arrangements, left and right of people, and etc. And there are English critical reasoning in terms of trying to recognize what is an assumption, what is an inference, uh, what type of information will strengthen an argument, what type of information will weaken an argument. Okay, the upstream downstream questions that you have done in critical reasoning. So the English based critical reasoning questions that come in the exam. So there are 30 questions on that. And there are this is obviously very very new, because except that, which does not accept GK score, which does not have any weightage on GK score except for the final admission process. Here GK plays an important role, and GK, there are 30 questions on Indian and global environment. So practically speaking, 150 questions, 30 questions from each section. Okay, so there are 5 sections, 30 questions from each section. And IMA very clearly points out that score from all these sections altogether go on to form your overall score. Okay, now, while there is not much clarity as to what that exactly means, but I am guessing that, again, while there may not be very high sectional cutoffs, for example, GK always has low sectional cutoffs irrespective of the exam. But yeah, while there may not be very high sectional cutoffs, but I would strongly recommend that you don't score a zero or a negative in any section to be on the safe side. Okay, so therefore you have to leave some time for your weakest section. So there are a lot of people who ask me, whether I can do the whole 30 questions of quant and whole 30 questions of data interpretation and bunk out language or reasoning or GK, because they're very weak to me, and therefore, I don't want to spend time on them. Not a great idea. Not a great idea, because you have to score some positive marks in those sections only. uh, whether the business schools look for sectional cutoffs and etc., frankly, we don't 100% know whether all the business schools have their sectional cutoff or not. But if you ask me, if I was the chairman of Amrita Business School or IMDR or IIM, or even MDI, for any of their programs, I would have hesitated if one student would have got 100 percentile in quant and 100 percentile in data interpretation, and would have got 30 percentile in language and scored a 0 or a negative in reasoning or GK. That shows a very lopsided profile of a student. So therefore, one thing, and I'll talk about time distribution as well in this section, but I would strongly recommend that you give some amount of time in each of the sections. Don't spend whole your time in doing only 2 or 3 sections and completely bunk out a section. Having said that, uh, I understand the concern of the students, that most of the students are very, very weak in GK. Uh, Sad to say, because most of us are not really in the habit of reading a newspaper as used to be in earlier days, which is perfectly fine, because now there are apps and etc. uh, but I think the type of GK that comes, one should know, out of the 30 questions, one should be able to answer very, very commonsensical GK, very, very day to day GK. So even if you are scrolling your newspaper app, or just going to maybe a News 18 website or an India Today website on a daily basis, very, very common GK. For example, this year, the US Iran war and the Hormuz Strait. These are some of the questions which you should definitely prepare. They are very common knowledge. The whole world is suffering because of that, and therefore these are some of the things which you should definitely know and try to remember. Okay. So GK, you should prepare. A lot of questions come to me, and I can see already some questions being asked on the comments, that whether we should prepare for GK. Yes, you should prepare for GK. Don't bunk out any of the sections. Don't leave a blank or score a negative in any of the sections. Okay. Having said that, let's talk about an extreme situation. You don't know any of the answers of GK, please don't do wild guesses. Okay, it is better to score a 0 than to score a negative. Okay, so therefore that's how we should play on that. Okay, so that's where do we go. All right. Yeah, so let's go one by one of all the 5 sections. Language comprehension, assuming that we have got approximately a month's time for at least the second format paper, that is the online paper. Um, the language comprehension area, a simple thing to do is every day read 3 to 4 editorials. Okay, that helps you to improve your retention. Okay, flashcards, very easily available. You can use for the high frequency words that has been coming in the paper. That helps you to build a fair amount of vocabulary questions that come in the paper. Subject verb agreement and use of tense, okay, is something which can be easily learned within the next few days in terms of grammar. Okay. And obviously parajumbles. Okay. If you are doing that, I can easily tell you that out of the 30 questions in the paper, you will be able to attempt at least 20 of them with more than 70 to 80% accuracy rate. Okay, if these 4 areas are done, okay, in the language comprehension section, that is, we are reading and we are trying to retain the knowledge part that we have. We are talking about flashcards in vocabulary and learning at least 1 to 2 sentences using those vocabulary. Okay, the usage is important. Remember, it is not the dictionary meaning of the word, it is using the word, how do you use it. So maybe a difference between strolling and walking and wandering. Okay, these are type of words that the mood of the word is something which we'll have to understand. The difference between isolating, quarantining, uh, sequestering. Okay, what is the difference between these three words? All of them will mean that you make somebody isolate from the larger crowd. But when do I use isolate, when do I use quarantine, when do I use sequester? Those are the things that you will need to take in mind. So my suggestion will be that learn approximately 100 to 200 uh, frequently used words and their usages, and maybe 2 to 3 synonyms of each one of them. That should do the purpose of vocabulary. Grammar, as I said, I think you don't have to worry too much about it. Subject verb agreement is something which comes in almost every exam. I'm sure you have learned that already by now. Revising that will help, and uses of tenses. Okay, so past tense, present tense, and you go deep into it. So present continuous, past perfect tense. When do I use I had gone, and when do I have use have gone? Okay, so those are the things that you will need to take in mind while preparing for grammar. And obviously parajumbles is a very very common thing. I'm sure you have done that a lot by now. Revising those concepts will help you sail through easily for the English section. This English section is fairly easier than any of the exams that you have written till now, because here most of the reading comprehension passages that you will get will be from Indian subcontinent context. We'll have very very less topics from European world, or global perspective and etc. With whatever we have seen in math, mostly the topics come from Indian subcontinent as a concept. So I think that should be easily be doable. Um, in maths, they in most of the questions that you get for math, they focus on application rather than very complex theory or formula and etc. So don't get unduly worried about mindlessly rotifying a lot of formula. Understand the concept of simple interest, compound interest. Understand the concept of relationship between cost price, selling price, mark price, etc. Okay, and very clearly prioritize arithmetic. Okay, uh, if you I mean, I generally don't like to say that, but yes, very clearly, if I look at history of math for so many years now, and again a disclaimer that might change anytime, it is up to the discretion of IMA to change that. But having said that, they are very clearly biased towards arithmetic. Out of the 30 questions, approximately 12 to 15 questions come from arithmetic. That will include percentage profit and loss, SICI, ratio proportion, time and distance, time and work. So therefore, even if you are able to do 12 to 15 questions of arithmetic, that should easily sail you through. uh, Geometry mensuration, we have seen around 2 to 3 questions that has been coming. uh, you can easily do lot of questions if you practice a little bit of mental calculation. That saves approximately 10 to 15 seconds per question. So therefore, if you are if you are uh, good with mental calculations, then what happens is very clearly your logical concepts, your calculation speed, your uh, proficiency in getting the answer becomes far quicker. So therefore, yeah, why not? I mean, practice mental calculations to save at approximately 10 to 15% of time. That will help you do a lot of it. Uh, some of the questions might require a lengthy calculations, heavy calculations. I would generally suggest you bunk out them. I mean, that's good enough. So therefore, if I talk about the English section, we had said that easily out of the 30 questions, you should be able to do around 20 of them. In maths, out of the 30 questions, with whatever time strategy I will suggest you, you should be able to do at least 15 of them. and that should be what should be a good score, assuming 70 to 80% accuracy rate. Okay, now again, just reminding you that I insist that don't spend too much on learning formula except for geometry and mensuration. Don't spend too much time on algebra or permutation combination probability. Chances are, even if those questions come, you will not attempt them over arithmetic. So arithmetic is, as I say, the game changer in the mathematical skills quant section. If you play with that, I think your job will be done. I mean, that's the shortest possible thing to say. Data interpretation is slightly the complex part of math. Okay, here obviously accuracy in calculation as well as speed. Uh, this is something which very clearly becomes slightly uncomfortable here. So therefore, uh, I don't know how much you have practiced till now. If you have practiced for the other exams, then this should be a cakewalk. Uh, but yes, here one thing that you should be 100% clear about is how to deal with pie charts. What are pie charts? What are bar graphs? What are cumulative bar graphs? What are standalone bar graphs? How are line charts to be read and understood? These are some of the things which you should be very clear. Here, yes, Matt, I have seen both parts. I have seen the options being very close as well as the options being far apart. Uh, One of the criteria to choose which set you do is obviously when the options are far apart, because then the approximations help you to calculate the values quicker. If the options are very very close, then obviously you'll have to do a lot of calculations to get the precise and the correct answer. So therefore, one of the ways to choose a question is you first look at the question, see the options, and then decide which set to choose, because if the options are far apart, that is easier to calculate. As simple as that. That's how it is. uh, by the way, by this now, if you have the question that whether I can move from one section to the other at my will, yes, you can. There are no sectional time limits. So you can see question number 15, and if you don't like it, you can also go to question number 16, and if you don't like it, you can come back to question number 15. Okay, so you can go through the section, and from question number 16 you can go to question number 150 as well. So there are no sectional time limits both in the PBT as well as the CBT. So therefore, you can move through the sections, and you can go back, go forward, and so on and so forth. So yes, you should be able to see the 4 questions in a set in the DI section, and then decide which section to do. So generally, for the data analysis section, the strategy that I suggest to students is there will be approximately 4 sets, 4 to 5 sets, if I may say so. Sometimes there are 6, but we will stick to 4 to 5 sets. Uh, Generally, we should be able to compare the first 2 sets and decide which one is the easier. Then you compare these, set of 2 next sets and decide which one is easier. So try to finish the easier sets quicker. And the definition of easier set is less data, less reading, uh, with a diagram. So a diagram is always preferred over a caselet with lot of text, and obviously options being far apart. Okay, that's always the criteria. So 4 sets, and then there will be some around 5 to 6 questions of data sufficiency. Now, one word of caution about data sufficiency: data sufficiency questions are very easy and quick to read because there are only 3 lines in that question, but they are very very slippery. In the whole data analysis section, the accuracy rate is generally the lowest for data sufficiency. So therefore, in data sufficiency, unless and until you are 100% sure of an answer, you should not attempt. Okay, don't take risk here. If you have to take a risk, these are not calculation questions. All right, these are not, in fact, data sufficiency is more reasoning than calculation. Okay, you have to understand whether using those 2 data given in the question you can get the answer. You are not supposed to get the answer. You are only supposed to stop. You are supposed to stop the moment you understand whether I can get the answer. Now what happens is, many people use the traditional available knowledge to get answers. Okay, and therefore we use commonsensical knowledge or theoretical knowledge to get answer. I'll give you a very simple example. uh, if there are two variables, let's say we are talking about x and y, okay, and we have to get the values of x and y, our generic knowledge from algebra says that if there are two variables, I need to have two independent equations, to linear equations, to get the answer for x and y. Now what you need to understand is there are some hidden non-explicit assumptions that are made in data efficiency questions. For example, if x and y represents number of pens and pencils, then one thing that we automatically assume is that the values of x and y has to be positive integers. They cannot be fractions. So therefore, if there is a question which says that a pen costs 2 rupees and a pencil costs 3 rupees, and total I have spent 5 rupees, then 2x plus 3y is equal to 5 is sufficient to get the answer that x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 1, because they cannot be fractions. On the other hand, if x and y were measurable quantities are not necessarily countable, pens and pencils are countable. Now if let's say we are talking about rice and wheat, and it says that rice costs 2 rupees per kilo and wheat costs 3 rupees per kilo, and total I have spent 5 rupees, then 2x plus 3y is equal to 5 is not sufficient to answer the question, because x and y can be fractions. Okay, I can buy a 0.75 kilos of rice, I cannot buy a 0.75 pencil. Okay, so data sufficiency, generally you will have to go slightly deeper into thinking to try to understand uh, what is the question being asked, what is the data given, can there be some hidden assumptions in this question, and therefore at the heat of the moment, at the speed of time, you generally tend to overlook them. So my strong word of caution is that in data sufficiency, be very cautious, uh, be on a slightly slower pace than the regular data interpretation questions. And unless and until you are 100% sure, I would suggest that you don't play with the data sufficiency questions. There the accuracy rate has been very low. So if I'm talking about data interpretation questions, which is the diagram or the case state based questions, there the traditional accuracy rate has gone in the range of 60 to 70%, whereas if I look at the data sufficiency questions, uh, irrespective of background, the data sufficiency question, the accuracy rate has been less than 50%. So they can actually eat away a lot of your good work. My strong recommendation is, in data analysis section, in the data interpretation section, concentrate on data interpretation and calculation based questions more, that too diagram based questions with options far apart more, rather than caselets, and as much less as possible give time to data sufficiency. Data sufficiency will anyway not require too much time, because the questions, as I said, are easy to read. There are only 3 lines in that question. There will be one question followed by two data, and therefore reading time is not very high for data sufficiency. However, uh, if you are not 100% sure of the answer that you have got, you should not really attempt all data sufficiency questions. Okay. uh, Reasoning section, okay, there are, as I said, two very clear cut type of reasoning section. One is analytical reasoning, which is more mathematical. That is, we'll have puzzles, we'll have blood relations, we'll have direction sense. Okay, we'll have arrangement questions, somebody sitting to the left of a, somebody sitting to the right of a, and so on and so forth. This is one type of questions which are easily scoreable. Okay, if I can tell you that the puzzle questions that has come in math, as well as the directions as questions that has come in math, are almost with 100% accuracy rate. It just requires pure common sense. If you are comfortable with slightly twisted language, let's say if I ask you, so a typical blood relation question is something like, there is a photo and A asks B, whose photo is that, and he says he's the mother of the father of the sister of somebody, and you make that family tree and you draw the diagram. Slightly funny questions, but yes, they get confusing sometimes. I will say of analytical reasoning question, focus on puzzles, focus on direction sense, focus on arrangement questions. They are usually the highest scoring question types. The good thing about these questions is that either you get them or you don't. So therefore, the accuracy rate tends to go as high as 100% in these questions. So yes, I will obviously suggest that you should go ahead with critical reasoning, analytical reasoning more over critical reasoning in this. Critical reasoning questions require a fair amount of understanding of arguments, okay, understanding what one is a premise, which one is a conclusion, uh, how does one strengthen or weaken a conclusion, what is the basic difference between an assumption and an inference. For example, if you don't understand that assumption is something which the author believes to be true but may not be necessarily true, okay, it is only in author's mind but may not be necessarily true in real life, or for that matter even for the context of the question. Whereas inference is something which is must be true uh, from the data given in the question. Okay, now if you did not understand what I said right now, then my suggestion will be that either in the next few days you revise the old concepts of critical reasoning, or you better not attempt them. Okay, critical reasoning has been a toughie. Okay, critical reasoning is one section where people who have not been great with English have not been able to score very high. You attempt critical reasoning only if your vocabulary, your sense of English grammar and composition is fairly okay. You had a good solid, and when I mean good solid, I essentially mean in a good college with good English speaking peer group and etc. If you had that type of a background, then yes, critical reasoning is something which you should look forward to. Otherwise, I would suggest that for clearing your reasoning section cutoff, you should be able to do all analytical reasoning questions. Okay, so if there are 30 questions at this and you finish off all analytical reasoning questions, that will give you around 15 to 17 marks, which is good enough to clear the cutoff. Okay, so yes, if you are not good with English linguistic reasoning, if you are not good with critical analysis of literature and etc., if you are not very well read, then I suggest that either in the next few days you improve your critical reasoning sense, you improve your knowledge of linguistics, you improve your sense of understanding what is an assumption, what is an inference, what is a judgment, how are these three different, and so on. And based on that, you practice a little bit of what is strengthening of an argument, what is weakening of an argument, what do you mean by a premise, what do you mean by an intermediate conclusion or a final conclusion, and etc. Spend a little bit of time on that. You'll get lot of material on the internet, and if you have prepared till now, I'm sure you'll be able to prepare as well. This is where, however, like data sufficiency, accuracy is a question mark. Okay, so again, the options can be very, very tricky. Okay, and one of the key things to understand in such type of questions is you don't look at the options first. You look at the question and try to understand what type of question is it, then go to the passage, read the passage, make up your mind, then look at the options. If you look at the options first and then read the passage, there is almost 90% chance that you will go wrong, because the options will cloud your thought. So unless and until you have practiced a fair amount of critical reasoning questions, again, like data sufficiency, I would strongly recommend that you stay out of it as much as possible. So therefore, and there is no separate cutoff for analytical reasoning and critical reasoning. Okay, so if you want to clear the cutoff of the reasoning section, if you want to score good in the reasoning section, that is, you should stick to analytical reasoning. That should give you 15 to 17 marks. Easy questions, direction sense, absolutely no brainer. Blood relations, almost no brainer. Most of the questions about sitting arrangements, absolutely no brainer. 100% success rate. I think you should stick to that. That is the key to scoring very high in the critical reasoning section. Yeah. Here comes the last part, which is the main pain point. I think this is something which every student should worry about. uh, First of all, uh, this is a very very low scoring section. It has been traditionally the most low scoring section of the paper. uh, so first thing first is, uh, if you are prepared till now, and I'm sure, if you are prepared during your GDPI stage for the last few days, if you have been reading newspapers and etc., then this becomes easy. If however you have not, the first requirement of preparation is to read major news of last 6 months. Okay, last 6 months, last, not last 3 months, not last 2 months, last 6 months. And you can pick up any good book. You can pick up the latest issues of Pratyogita Darpan. You can pick up the latest issues of Competition Success Refresher. For static GK, you can pick up Manorama the last year's Manorama year book, I mean the latest one that you have. Okay, you can visit the website of Manorama year book, and you can, read from there. You can buy an e-copy of the book and etc. uh, but yes, traditionally, out of these 30 questions, generally if you have been able to do even 10 of them, that seems to be a very good score in math, which practically means that uh, this section you spend the least amount of time. Okay, and anyway, I mean, a GK question is something which you know or you don't know. If you know, it does not take a split second to answer that question. If you don't know, again, it does not take more than a split second to understand that I should not attempt it. So therefore there is no calculations involved, there is no reading involved, there is no thinking involved. It is all about either you know it or you don't know it. The major areas that come, obviously business awareness, the recent mergers, acquisitions, if there are CEO changes in recent times, Indian CEOs in multinational and global companies, Microsoft, Google, etc. Major news of mergers and acquisitions. You can read about very big buzz about edtech industry recently, name changes of companies like Google changing to Alphabet, or Zomato changing its name. So all these are some of these things that you'll need to take in mind while preparing for this paper. So some major news that is taking place. Static GK includes major awards rewards this year, the Nobel Prize winnings, uh, major constitutional basics, the preambles, um, major news regarding any rules and any regulations that has happened. Elections this year, elections has been a major issue this year. Um, so that's something which you can take care of. Economic trends, very clearly, the world is undergoing a major economic crisis due to the US Iran war or the Russia Ukraine war. So therefore, what is happening about gold prices. I remember somebody talking about gold prices, the bullion prices, the import duty that has been imposed on bullion trade, bullion imports, and etc. uh, what is happening, who are the main who's who. So just don't know Donald Trump, know about Netanyahu also, know about Ayatollah Khomeini also, know about all these leaders, and try to understand who they are, what is the history. My guess is elections this year, uh, as well as the war and the economic crisis that is going on, will play an important role in this year's GK. Okay. This section, just to clarify, like that, is often not counted in the composite score. Okay, most of the business schools do not see this as a part of the composite score. Remember, therefore, do not spend too much time on that. However, I again repeat and reiterate, keep that in mind, that I would not or rather I would very clearly hesitate to take a student who has got more than 99 or 99.5 percentile in other sections and scored a blank in GK. So whether I should prepare for it, yes, please do it in your leisurely pace. You don't have to really spend too much time on that. This is not an IAS exam, of course. So therefore, do it at your leisurely pace. When you're bugged with quant or with English or with reasoning, then you can maybe pick up your mobile phone, download an app of recent news. You can pick up any actually, and just read the day to day news. Go to moneycontrol.com, go to news 18, India Today. Good enough papers, and prepare them regularly. Okay, but that mostly will give you the current affairs. It does not give you the static GK. So static GK, you can pick up any specific uh, competition aimed website or news site. For example, Competition Success Refresher or Manorama Yearbook and etc. And there are a lot of static GK questions which you can go through, and you can try to retain them as much as possible. This is definitely the lowest scoring section of the paper. Okay, and most of the business schools understand that. They are very much empathic towards lack of GK, and therefore it's perfectly all right to take it slow, take it easy. Okay, in a few words, the preparation roadmap in the next 1 week or so, quickly strengthen your fundamentals, okay, in all the 5 sections. Okay, uh, if you have to set aside something, as I said, GK you do it at your leisurely pace, but others you have to clear the concepts and etc. Week 2, start slowly and steadily picking up on sectional tests and topic wise mastery. By week 3 you should be doing full length tests and deep analysis. Okay, and therefore by week 4 you should be ready to give the paper. So therefore there is the only time where you can start. Remember, one assumption that I am playing with is that this sport part of it, the concept building part, very clearly you are already ready. You are almost 90% ready, because you have been doing that for last, I don't know, maybe a year or so. So therefore the concept building part should be very very quick. The practice phase and the mocks, the mocks, these are the two very clearly things which you should get a priority. So even if you want to give just 3-4 days of time to concept building and quickly shift to the practice mode, that will be the most idyllic situation that you will have. Okay, uh, and this is the suggested time allocation for the paper. Very very clearly, the mathematical skills as well as the data analysis is something which forms the bulk of marks. This is where you score the highest. So therefore do not give less than 35 minutes or 30 minutes in these two sections. This plays the king's role in your score. Okay, most of the people will be better in mathematical skills and data analysis. So therefore my suggestion will be, depending on your obviously strategy, uh, do not give less than an hour on these two sections. I mean, 35 minutes and 30 minutes is an optimal time. Okay, language questions, concentrate on vocabulary, concentrate on grammar, concentrate on RC, but leave that section within first 25 minutes, and in 25 minutes you should be able to do at least 15 to 17 questions out of the 30 questions. Okay, as I said, GK you do not give more than 10 minutes. In fact 10 minutes is on the higher side. I mean, to see 30 questions, trust me, you do not require more than 5 to 7 minutes. You see the question, you know it or you don't know it, you tick it and you go forward. So therefore, practically speaking, each of the questions do not require more than 10 seconds. Okay, I mean max 10 seconds. Okay, and therefore these 30 questions do not require more than 300 seconds, which is practically 5 minutes. So therefore my suggestion will be, for the GK section, you keep the last 5 minutes of the paper, the last 5 minutes, good enough. Play with it, finish it off. I mean, don't take undue tension with it. Just keep an eye on time and make sure that in the last 5 minutes you go ahead and attempt the GK section. The reasoning section, 20 minutes of time. Concentrate more on analytical reasoning over critical reasoning. In 20 minutes of time, you should be able to do around 15 questions. So therefore, just giving you some targets so that you can keep that in mind. In the mathematical section, my suggestion will be that you should be able to do around 15 to 20 questions. Okay, that's the first target. For the data analysis section, somewhere around 12 to 17 questions is good enough. Okay, all of them is with the assumption that we have approximately uh, 80%, 70 to 80% accuracy rate, which is not very difficult. Okay, in the language section, again around 12 to 17 questions. Okay, easily doable in somewhere around 25 minutes. In the intelligence and the reasoning section, that is the reasoning section, if I may say so, again you keep a target of 12 to 17 questions. Okay, and whatever you can do in the GK section, so my suggestion will be around 5 to 7 questions. Okay, now in this whole thing, if you are able to, for example, in this and this, if you are able to keep an 80% accuracy rate, okay, in the reasoning section, if you're able to keep a 70% accuracy rate, and in the GK section, if you're able to keep a 100% accuracy rate, okay, my guess is the job is done. Okay, you should be able to get a very high score in the paper. Okay, and that very clearly is an optimal number to get a score. Okay, I just taking some questions from whatever has been asked. How do I develop the mindset to quickly identify logical traps and tricky options in critical reasoning question? I mean, the best way to do it is to eliminate options which you think are absolutely wrong, and then whatever is left, uh, those are the things which you should concentrate on to get the answers. I think that is something which we should be able to do. How can you improve speed in data interpretation questions? I think practice mental calculations as much as possible, and as I said, choose those sets where the options are far apart. I think that is the key to it. I have already answered which quant topics are easiest to score for non-math student. I think concentrate on arithmetic. Uh, Learn the formula for geometry. Learn a little bit of algebra and permutation combination. Rest of the things you should be able to manage. Right. I think that's all from my side. I think Nirmal, if you can take over.
A very nice and comprehensive, I would say, session which was done by you, Roser. One of the question I just thought you may have answered, but just to confirm this, which formulas should we memorize first? Is there a list of for formula which should be memorized first?
So if you are talking about the quant section, I think for arithmetic you should not learn formula except understanding the relationship between different terms like cost price, selling price, mark price, percentage profit, percentage loss, and so on and so forth. Geometry, you should, if at all you want to learn some formula, you should learn all the formulas for areas of a triangle. For 3D geometry, you should learn the volume and surface areas of right circular cylinder, cone, sphere, and all that stuff. They practically come just an application of the question. So therefore geometry, uh, areas of a triangle, areas of different polygons, uh, some relationship between circle, the different aspects of a circle. I think that should be good enough.
So another one interesting question is like, which arithmetic chapters carry maximum weightage in math? How can we improve mental calculation speed for quant? I think you have touched upon it, but would you like to
Yes.
add on it?
Yeah, so as I said, arithmetic chapters play a prevalent role. So therefore, percentage, profit and loss, ratio, proportion, time and work, time and distance. I think if you garner them well, averages, mixtures, and allocations, I think if you garner them as well, then your job for arithmetic should be done. uh, Disclaimer again, remember that this is based on the last 30 years trend. You don't know, IMA might like to change, anything can happen with these exams, they are unpredictable at the end of the day. But yes, going by the last 20-30 years trend, I can tell you with fair amount of confidence that if you do your arithmetic well, clearing sectional cutoffs in arithmetic is not a very in the quant section is not a very difficult thing. uh,
Okay, talking of arithmetic and mathematics, there's a question on how to score, how to, yeah, which quant topics are easiest to score for a non-maths student?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. I think
Yeah.
the algebra, the keep algebra and geometry less. The arithmetic topics that I just mentioned, they should play a important role in scoring.
Okay, the logical traps and the tricky options in critical reasoning that you have already mentioned.
Yes,
In
yes,
fact, one of the key thing which you have mentioned is not to look for the options first. That might make you bias. But
correct.
I also always had this habit of going through the options first. I think probably those are the guidelines to my thought process. Like I don't know, many of the students may be doing it
Yeah,
unless
so
it is the
it
serious
might
one.
be, yeah, it might be a very good a very good strategy for doing reading comprehension questions. But critical reasoning questions, the options come small. I mean, the passages come very small, they are not very data intensive. The focus is more on reasoning than finding out the data, and that is where when you read the options first, they might cloud your thought a lot. So therefore, a generic suggestion that I always have for students is they should not look at the options first, because they try to match those options with the passage, and the passage is not having those options, so therefore they get confused. They keep on looking for something which is not there in the passage, which makes it very very confusing and frustrating during the exam.
Excellent. So I think we have covered almost every question. There's one question which is online resources for people who are working. Working professionals probably would be interested only in the MDI Gurgaon 2 years PGDM BA. But as Dhruva sir has already mentioned, like there are many online resources. For example, for GK, you can refer to the Manorama online, the yearbook of this thing. Download the PDF, and also there are a lot of mock tests available in campusutra.com. Maybe the admin, I would request to share the link in the comment section where they can go through this. And apart from it, I think we have almost covered everything. As far as the comparative analysis of B schools, or how is IMDR and TSM or Amrita Mysuru, these are there in campusutra.com. Do write to us if you have any specific query where you are not able to compare between the two B schools which you have in your mind. Then we will be able to help you with the data and a lot of trends of the placement, and also the faculty ratio, what are the USPs of each of the B schools. We would help you to decide and to zero down onto a particular B school. That is from our end. We would be
Yeah,
trying our.
just one disclaimer. I think when Nirmala says that download the PDF from the website, I don't mean download it for free. You buy the PDF. No piracy is being suggested here. So therefore, you go to the Manorama Yearbook website, buy the authentic PDF, and use it for your own purpose.
No, of course, of course,
Yeah,
of course. So whatever is free in the public domain, you can use it. But of
yeah,
course, if you are not
yeah,
able to use
absolutely.
one, point which you have mentioned, I guess few years down the line, when you mentioned that last 6 months of newspaper, if somebody can access to a few years down the line, I remember there was a database which was available where you can have business news of past 3 years, which was widely being used by stock market people to see the trends and all. But nowadays a lot of things have changed. I'm not sure whether there's a database as such which is available, but I'm sure most of the newspaper, or if you just do a
No, the Manorama website has this. The Manorama website has like a link which says the major news for last 6 months, last 1 year, last 3 months, and so on. So I think it's there. So anybody who is very specific about it, you can put filters as well. So you can put filters as last 6 months, then business news, then political news, and so on and so forth. So I think they have filters on geography, they have filter on topic, they have filter on time zones and etc. So I think Manorama is a very good website if you want to prepare for GK. Okay. Having said that, I keep on reiterating the fact: please don't spend too much time on GK. That is like the least scoring section of the paper. So you should not get worried. This is not an IAS exam. Concentrate on concentrate on English. GK is last 5 to 7 minutes job, and whatever you can do, you mark it. Just don't score a blank or a negative. That should be your target.
Yeah, so thank you, Dhruva sir, once again for a very, very comprehensive and exhaustive note and suggestions and recommendations which you have. I really liked it personally, and I'm sure people who may not have joined, they would find it there in the YouTube channel of campusutra.com, and you can refer to that. If there is any questions which we are not taking up right now, specifically the comparative analysis question of 2B schools, do write to us. We will be more than happy to connect with you. You can connect us through social media, through our Instagram or any of the other social media channels, and we would in fact, we also have a WhatsApp group for MBA students. You can join us. We will drop the link in that comment section, and then we would be able to guide you through that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ankita, also once again, and thank you, Dhruva sir, once again.
Thank you.